Good evening, I'm Farhana Sheikh and you're tuning in to AWANI Tonight. The Higher Education Ministry promises more freedom to students of higher education institutions under amendments to the University and University Colleges Act 1971 or AUKU. Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Khalid Nordin says his ministry is in the process of fine-tuning the bill and that he expects it to be passed by this year.
Satu daripada perkara yang selalu mereka bangkitkan ialah mereka tak bebas nak buat aktiviti kerana perlu rujuk dan mendapat kelulusan daripada pihak universiti. Dan kedua, kalaupun diluluskan, mereka tiada kemampuan kerana tekanan punca kewangan ataupun kerana tekanan ketiadaan wang yang mencukupi untuk jalankan aktiviti.
Khalid said his ministry will work on amending sections 15 and 16 under the Act to allow more freedom to students to choose what activities they wish to conduct in campus. He added that amendments would also provide students freedom to manage their own political activities, which he believes will help with their overall development.
Nearly 3.5 million people are expected to receive payment for the special Aidilfitri financial assistance on April 17th. Deputy Finance Minister Datuk Seri Ahmad Maslan said the payment involves a financial allocation of 1.572 billion ringgit.
A total of 1.4 million civil servants grade 56 and below, including contract and MyStep staff, will receive 700 ringgit. While 1 million government retirees, including non-pensionable veterans, will receive 350 ringgit. Additionally, a total of 850,000 paddy farmers, rubber smallholders and fishermen would receive 200 ringgit. More than 200,000 volunteers from the Malaysian Volunteer Corps Department RELA, Civil Defence Force, Police Force and Fire Department would also receive the aid, amounting to 64 million ringgit.
There will be more domestic flights ahead of Aidilfitri celebrations, including on routes to Sabah and Sarawak. Transport Minister Anthony Loh said he hoped the increase in frequency would bring down the dynamic pricing of flights.
Harga tetap untuk ada beberapa penerbangan di mana harga tetap dan saya akan buat pengumuman lagi berkenaan dengan penambahan penerbangan. Meskom telah pun melaporkan kepada kementerian dalam mesyuarat postcap semalam banyak penerbangan tambahan telah pun diluluskan dan Malaysia Airlines juga akan menggunakan pesawat wide body untuk penerbangan balik ke Sabah dan Sarawak. Maka kapasiti penerbangan akan tambah, kapasiti tempat duduk akan bertambah. Jadi apabila kapasiti bertambah, sudah tentu harga average itu akan menurun. Jadi itu pendekatan yang kita guna pakai.
At the same time, Loh also said it is still too early to assess whether the Mass Rapid Transit MRT service in the Putrajaya route are reducing traffic congestion. At present, he said congestion at peak hours is still critical during the Ramadan period.
Keadaan kesesakan terutamanya dalam bulan Ramadan ini pada waktu-waktu puncak agak kritikal lagi. Terutamanya termasuklah di Lebuh Raya Max, di Lebuh Raya Persekutuan, KL Sungai Besi, semuanya kawasan-kawasan yang agak kritikal yang saya tahu setiap hari di waktu puncak semasa pagi dan petang masih berlaku kesesakan yang teruk. Jadi saya tak nak mengatakan bahawa MRT itu sudah berjaya mengurangkan kesesakan. Dia belum lagi sebab dia masih di peringkat awal.
According to him, the ridership of passengers recorded during the first 2 weeks when operating for free was 100,000 per day. Loh said his ministry was aiming for the service to be used by 200,000 passengers every day, compared to about 80,000 at present. The Putrajaya MRT line began full operation on March 16th.
Malaysia is open to reviving the high-speed rail project to Singapore, though it has to be a private sector-led initiative. In an interview with CNBC, International Trade and Industry Minister Datuk Seri Tengku Zafrul Abdul Aziz said the matter was discussed between the two countries back in February.
Malaysia is open on reviving this, but it has to be a complete private sector-led initiative, right? So it's now up to the private sector to then come back to both governments with their proposals on how we can make this a commercially viable initiative.
In January 2021, Malaysia and Singapore jointly called off an estimated 75 billion ringgit plan to build a 350-kilometre high-speed railway between Kuala Lumpur and the city-state. Malaysia paid over 300 million ringgit to Singapore for the project's termination after both countries failed to agree on several proposed changes to the project. Stay tuned for more after the break. Welcome back. The government is reviewing its cabotage policy restrictions for submarine cable repair vessels. This is a long-awaited move that could potentially lead to the opening up of Malaysian waters to foreign flagged ships providing such services. Dr. Juwita Muhammad from Institute for Democracy and Economic Affairs, or IDEAS, explains the implications from this policy.
If local service suppliers or local service providers are able to deliver those needed technical know-how and services in a timely manner, that would work. So we wouldn't be needing the cabotage exemptions at all. But in the case where there's an absence of skill sets, there's an absence of technical know-how, and also timeliness in delivery, I do feel that exemptions on the cabotage is very much needed, so that restrictions for, in this case, submarine cable repair vessels can be lifted. And this would go back to promoting healthy competition in that industry itself, which is very good for local industries in the long run. And this may also drive down costs of repairs in the medium to long term.
Juwita said moving forward with the move could restore investors' confidence and attract not just tech giants but other industry players looking for smart solutions.
The lifting of the cabotage, I feel that it could also be an important component to attract not just tech giants, but also our data centers that are very much looking into expanding cloud computing, like cloud services, as well as streaming services as well. So with better connectivity, I feel that the spillover effect will be felt in other sectors, not just in the ICT sector, not just in the fintech sector, but also in the manufacturing sector if we were to adopt smart manufacturing solutions as well as 4IR solutions. The announcement of a clear policy on this exemption and also the guidelines that are needed to be followed by both domestic and international investors will again restore investors' confidence in Malaysia. So I think in the medium to long term, it's a win-win for consumers, it's a win-win for industries, for even local industries, so that there's a spillover in technical know-how. And of course, it will be a win-win for the economy, because when we attract more FDIs, then there'll be more job opportunities, hopefully for our people on the ground.
On to the international front, China's foreign ministry has condemned the meeting between Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen and US House Speaker Kevin McCarthy in California. It said China will take resolute and effective measures to safeguard its national sovereignty and territorial integrity.
In a statement, it said the meeting gravely violated the One China principle, a policy formally recognized by the US for decades. McCarthy had hosted Tsai in Los Angeles on Wednesday, becoming the most senior U.S. figure to meet a Taiwanese leader in the U.S. in decades. During the meeting, McCarthy had stressed the need to expedite arms deliveries to Taiwan in the face of increasing threats from China. China claims Taiwan as its own territory, a position the Taipei government strongly contests. It had repeatedly warned both sides that the meeting should not take place and deployed warships through waters around Taiwan after the high-level meeting took place. In August last year, McCarthy's predecessor Nancy Pelosi had visited Taiwan, prompting China to carry out its largest ever air and sea exercises around the island nation.
In other news, the foreign ministers of Iran and Saudi Arabia met in China for the first formal gathering of their top diplomats in more than 7 years. The meeting marked a turning point in the relations of the two Middle Eastern regional powers after years of hostility. The longtime rivals agreed to end their diplomatic rift in a significant deal facilitated by China last month. Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud met his Iranian counterpart Hossein Amir Abdullahian in the capital Beijing. A joint statement said they discussed reopening diplomatic missions within 2 months and resuming flights. Iran and Saudi Arabia severed ties in 2016 after the Saudi embassy in Tehran was stormed by an angry mob following the execution of a Saudi Shia cleric. Starting in April 2021, the two sides took part in talks facilitated by Iraq and Oman, but it was Chinese intervention that resulted in a breakthrough last month. It was seen as a sign of China's growing influence in the Middle East and a challenge to the dominant role of the US in the region. China has close diplomatic and economic ties with both Saudi Arabia and Iran, while US-Saudi relations have been strained in recent years, and the US has had no diplomatic relations with Iran for 4 decades. Over in the US, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has filed election paperwork to run for US President in 2024 as a Democrat. The 69-year-old is the son of Senator Robert F. Kennedy, who was assassinated in 1968, and nephew of the late President John F. Kennedy.
Kennedy Jr., an environmental lawyer and outspoken anti-vaccine campaigner, became the second Democrat to enter the 2024 race, challenging President Joe Biden. Biden has indicated he will run for re-election, though he has not yet formally declared his candidacy. On the Republican side, former President Donald Trump, former United Nations Ambassador Nikki Haley, and millionaire entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy are among the candidates. Should Kennedy Jr. go through with his presidential bid, he would be the latest in a long line of family members to enter politics. The last Kennedy to hold elected office was former Massachusetts Rep. Joe Kennedy III, who lost a Democratic Senate primary in 2020.
5 people were killed in a pre-dawn tornado that ripped through southeastern Missouri. According to officials, another 5 people were injured and 87 structures damaged, with 12 of those buildings destroyed.
The tornado sheared off roofs, splintering trees and taking down power lines in the Bollinger County. First responders from multiple agencies combed through destroyed homes and businesses in the rural area. Missouri Governor Mike Parsons said the area had a long journey ahead towards recovery. The National Weather Service reported that the tornado touched down in the area around 3:30 a.m. local time on Wednesday. It struck just days after violent tornadoes tore through parts of the South and Midwest, killing at least 32 people. A week before, a tornado devastated the Mississippi Delta town of Rolling Fork, killing 26 people.
That wraps up AWANI Tonight. I'm Farhana Sheikh. Thank you for watching.